In today's video, we're starting on one of the most important questions. Can we stay within Jeep's factory towing specs of 3,500 pounds of towing and 350 pounds of ton weight here? It's fully outfitted Tab 360. The short answer is yes, and I'll show you how. With just one simple no-cost adjustment, you can bring your ton weight back within Jeep's limits without removing gear, adding a weight distribution hitch, or compromising your setup. Okay, let's start with the setup and a quick rundown of my 2024 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. One of the biggest changes for the 2024 JL Wrangler is a major upgrade to the rear axle right over here. Jeep switched from a semi-float design to a full float design, and that's really a pretty big deal because it's what allows all 2024 Rubicons to be rated for actually 5,000 pounds of towing, believe it or not, and 500 pounds of ton weight. But there is a catch. To get the full 5,000 pound rating from the factory, your Rubicon has to come with 33-inch tires. If you opt for 35, like I did, Jeep drops that official rating back down to 3,500 pounds and 350 pounds of ton weight, even though the hardware, such as upgrade of the brakes over other trims, is otherwise exactly the same on my Jeep as it is with the 5,000 rated Jeeps. Now, I did order an upgrade for my gears and running 4.88 gears from the factory. And while the 35s do take more powers to spin, the 4.88 gearing helps bring some of that power back, especially down low. That gives me better torque and acceleration at low speeds, exactly where you need it when towing or climbing. Whether or not that should be officially bump up my tow rating, well, that's a whole other conversation. A little bit about the new Tab 360. I'm towing a Tab 360 Boondock Edition that's been also upgraded to the Black Canyon package and has the 270 amp hour Battle-Born lithium upgrade. So it has a lot of gear. Okay, let's take a look at the Tab 360 so we can see how it is set up and where all the weight is. So as you can see, from the floor to the top here is about 6'4". So most people can stand on here very easily. It has two beds right now. This is in a table format, but this basically all lays down and becomes another bed on this side. Most of the weight here in the front is, if you want to move back here, there is the stove here, the sink. So you can see the sink. We have a bunch of kitchen stuff in here, so pots and pans. It also has a large fridge that's going to weigh a little bit. That's going to affect the ton weight. So and the freezer here. The other thing you've got here is the bathroom. I'm going to take my shoes off so just you guys can see what a comfortable camper this is. This is basically, I'm about 5'11", and I can stand here very easily and take a shower. Not a problem at all. Very comfortable. Okay. And so this camper in this configuration weighs, according to New Camp, 2,729 pounds. So well within the 3,500 pounds of the capacity of Jeep. It actually also falls within the 80-20 rule that a lot of people like to reference. And the ton weight, unfortunately, though, is, according to New Camp, is 386 pounds. So 386 pounds, so that's over the 350 limit that Jeep specs. Now, I'm a big, huge believer, especially when it comes to towing, to staying within the specs of the manufacturer for various reasons, insurance, safety. I mean, they've gone through steps to determine this is what you need to stay within. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Jeep officially rates my 2024 Wrangler Rubicon on 35s with 350 pounds of ton weight limit. And so the question is, I'm technically 36 pounds over, according to New Camp, over that 350 pounds. So can I bring the ton weight down without stripping the trailer of all its awesome features? I don't want to remove let me show you actually a few other things up in front that's going to affect the ton weight. I don't want to remove the propane tank and the gears that installed in the front tub. And the spare tires also there. So let's take a quick look. So here, as you can see, we have a big tub. And if I open this, you look inside, I have a leveling kit, hoses, a mat, the bunch of other stuff. There's also a big propane tank here and a spare tire right underneath. So I don't want to change any of this stuff or take any of the stuff to change the ton weight. So everything stays. So this has to work as is. First things first, let's measure the ton weight. With all our gears loaded, that'll give us a solid baseline so we can see exactly how much we need to reduce to get back within Jeep's factory specs of 350 pounds per ton weight. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to measure the ton weight? For that, we have a very ingenious idea. Let's take a look. So I have this beautiful bathroom scale that's rated up to 550 pounds. One thing before we go to the next step, here's the deal. I actually ordered some other stuff to measure the hitch that were specifically made for measuring the ton weight. And none of those tools that I tried were actually giving me what I was expecting. They were showing lower ton weight than even New Camp was saying. So what I found was actually that this bathroom scale is a better tool. So this is why I'm using that, and I've actually returned those other tools. Over here, and you can get a better view of the scale.
Right now, our ton weight is 388 pounds, but Wrangler's limit is 350 pounds. We need to drop about 38 pounds to stay within spec. Quick demo first, then we'll dive under the trailer and see if the plan checks out. The sink and shower are up front, so I'm guessing the gray tank's up front and the freshwater tank's behind the axle. But we'll find out for sure once we pull the underbelly off. If the water tank's where we think it is, we can fill it to shift the weight backward and reduce the ton weight. Easy and free. Okay, so now let's look at this demo. Let's pretend this is the front of the trailer. We'll add some weight toward the back and show how it changes the balance and lightens the ton weight. So let's go ahead and add some weight here. And we'll say this is the front of the trailer. This is where the tire and the axles are, and this is the back of the trailer. All right, so if we add some weight, let's say the water tank's back here, and we put in some water, you notice that this shifted up. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more. And as you can see, again, the weight shifted. So by doing so, we have reduced the ton weight right here. And that's demonstrated by this side of the trailer moving up because there isn't as much force or weight being exerted down on this side. Okay, so let's take a look and see where everything is under the camper. The gray tank's going to be right behind the gray tank valve outlet. Here's a good picture of it. So since the gray tank's in front of the axle, where the pivot point is, we want to make sure we travel with an empty gray tank. Because if we have anything in the gray tank, that's just going to add to the ton weight, and we don't want that. Okay, let's see if we can find the Battleborn 270 amp hour battery. That weighs 81 pounds. And here it is. It's right in front of the axle, right next to the axle, which is good. So the weight's going to be balanced. It's going to be pretty much in the middle. Okay, looking at the back of camper. Again, you can see the Battleborn right in front of the axle, right there in the back. You can see this white tank here is the water tank.
So we're going to take some measurements here. You can see the pipes going to the water tank. The low water drain is right over here on the left. All right, so I'm going to put this down and take some measurements.
Okay, and here's a drawing of where everything is. So in the front we have the gray tank, and since the gray tank is in front of the axle, we're going to leave that empty so we don't add any more weight to the tongue weight. Next we have the battery, which is right in the center, and we're going to leave that alone as well. And finally we have the fresh tank water, which is in the back, and that's where we're going to add some water and some weight, which will decrease the ton weight in the front. Okay, I've taken some measurements. Let's see how much water we need to add to reduce the ton weight by 38 pounds. To calculate how much we can reduce the ton weight, we can use a formula. So the delta, or the change in ton weight, is going to be D, which is the distance from the axle to the center of the water tank, divided by L, which is the total trailer wheelbase, and that's the distance from the axle to the hitch ball, multiplied by W, which is the weight of water added. The Tab 360 has a 28-gallon freshwater capacity. So if we add 28 gallons, and each gallon of water is basically about 8.34 pounds, we get 233 pounds, which we are going to add to the weight of the camper. If you punch all the dimensions and multiply by W, which is at 233 pounds, we're going to get 39 pounds. And so earlier we said our ton weight was 388 pounds. So that minus 39 will give us 349 pounds. So that's what we're going to end up with on the ton weight for the trailer. And that's well within the Jeep specs, Jeep Wrangler specs. Now let's look at the overall weight. A lot of people swear by something called 80-20 rule. And that basically states that you want to keep your trailer weight under 80% of your vehicle's maximum capacity. For my Jeep Wrangler, that's about 2,800 pounds out of 3,500 pounds. But the 80-20 rule is more of a general guideline. It's not a standard. And let's be honest, there are plenty of variables, circumstances, and wild dynamics. I mean, if you're towing in a hurricane, that 80% is not going to save you. At that point, you're basically flying a kite with wheels. I've actually done a lot of research in this area. I even wrote a program that pulls and analyzes available data on the internet and did some data analytics. And I've even used the Wayback Machine, which is basically an internet time machine. It archives all the web pages all the way back to 1996. So that's when Netscape Navigator was a browser of choice. So yeah, I've dug deep, pulling whatever was published online over years to really understand how this 80-20 rule came about. And the earliest documented mention of this rule that I found dates back to December 4th, 2000 on an Open Roads Forum post. I've also done a ton of research into how car manufacturers actually determine towing capacity. Everything from the FMVSS, which is government regulations, to the auto industry's SAE J2807 standard. And it's a lot more involved than just slapping a number or going by some general rule. If you're interested, I can break it all down in the future with you. Drop a comment below if that's something you want to see. The short answer is my setup is well within safe towing limits. No issues here. The Tab 360 has a dry weight of 2,729 pounds. We've added 233 pounds of water. So that's going to give us 2,962 pounds. And let's say we add another 38 pounds to make it a round number of 3,000. So 3,000 pounds for our trailer. That would give me basically 85% to 86%. So about 85% would be 3,000 pounds would be 85% of 3,500 pounds. So now here's the interesting part. If I switch to 33-inch tires, as I mentioned earlier, Jeep suddenly rates that same vehicle up to 25,000 pounds. So just something to chew on. As for the ton weight, the general rule is that you want to stay within 10 to 15% of your trailer's weight. So for a 3,000 pound trailer, which would be the weight of my trailer, that's going to be ton weight of between 300 and 450 pounds. So 10% to 15%. So I'm sitting at roughly about 12% right now. So 12% is just the sweet spot in my opinion. What you don't want to do is go below this 10% number. A ton weight that's too light can cause a very dangerous trailer sway, which can lead to loss of control or even a rollover. So that's a much more serious problem than being slightly heavy up front. On the flip side, too much ton weight can overload your rear axle and reduce steering. That's not an issue in my case, but it's something that I'll cover more in the future video. Also worth noting, my 2024 Rubicon came with a full floating rear axle for the first time, which is part of what allows Wranglers with 33-inch tires to be rated up to 5,000 pounds and 500 pounds of ton weight because of the new axle. So yeah, my opinion is that we're totally good to go towing the Tab 360 with this setup. I've done it for a while now, and I'm completely satisfied with it.
Okay, next we're gonna fill the water tank and then reweigh the ton weight. So we have it hooked up to the water. The water tank should be pretty full now, so let's go ahead and reweigh the ton weight. Okay, so